Hey everyone, it's Scott here. So building approvals have just increased, but will it be enough to hit the government's ambitious target of building over 1 million homes in just the next 5 years? Let's take a look at those numbers and what it means for the property market. So every single month, the ABS website comes out with the number of building approvals which were approved for that particular month. So what are building approvals? This is where someone that wants to build a building, it's either a private builder, a mum or dad builder, or it could be a developer that wants to build townhouses or apartments. They go to the local council and they submit a development application. So we count up all those development applications that actually get approved and stamped by the local council, and that's your building approvals. Now we track this every single month, and what we've seen in the last month is an increase of 5.5% of the number of dwellings which have been approved across the country. So I unpack all of this in the recent article that I wrote for Australian Property Update. So let's just take a quick look at that article and take a look at what's going on here. So just in summary, the latest building approval figures show the number of homes approved in May rose 5.5%. However, in the year to May, just 164,000 new homes were given the green light in Australia. So we need to be approving between 250,000 and 300,000 per year. That is because not all approvals become a build start or a build completion. That's because someone may go down to the council, okay, put in a development application gets approved, so they've got approval to build something on that particular block of land, but they may run out of money, they may decide to delay the project, they may want to pre-sell the project, which means they want to sell what they're building prior to construction. So they're relying on someone to buy it so they can get the funds to start construction, and maybe it didn't stack up and no one wants to buy that particular property, so they cannot begin construction. And what we've worked out is somewhere between 85 and 95% of all approvals actually start construction. So there are only 164,000 approvals in the last 12 months, and we can expect somewhere between 85 to 95% of those will become a new build start. That would mean in the last 12 months, we can only expect about 150,000 new dwellings to come from all those approvals. However, we need to be building between 250,000 and 300,000 properties every single year to make up for the deficit of property that we've got now, and to accommodate between 200 and 250,000 new people in our population every single year. So as you can see, the ABS numbers, whilst they have increased month on month, 5.5%, I mean, that's a good sign. At least we're headed in the right direction. It is nowhere near enough to be able to make up for this huge crisis that we've got at the moment for the lack of housing to rent. That's why we're seeing the rents go up, lack of housing for people to buy. And that's why we're actually seeing the prices of property continue to grow. Experts. Now in the article, I actually mentioned a lot of experts which were interviewed, different sources out there on the internet. I've consolidated that here for you. But experts actually point to a shortage of building workers, town planners, and construction firms who specialize in a lot of these construction projects, especially high density buildings like apartment blocks. And this actually complicates our ability to build everything that's approved. And what we're actually seeing is that the wage growth of people in construction is continuing to increase. That wage growth goes into the ultimate price that consumers have to pay for the brand new constructed property. Now, as material costs and labor costs increase to build new property, that means someone that wants to sell something off the plan and actually get a buyer and get that money to begin construction, they've got to sell it at a higher price. And in a lot of cases, people right now don't have that money. And also people can be a little bit weary of building off the plan, especially apartments at the moment, because there have been some negative news stories around buying off the plan. And that means that a lot of these approvals will not go ahead. Now, I want to put up this chart. This chart will actually show you the fluctuation of building approvals going back to May 2009. So you can see here in May 2009, less than 12,000 approvals, and that fluctuates. And then around 2015, 2017, 18, we sort of hit that peak. And that peak really came along because in 2008 to 2012, we had record numbers of migration come in. You may remember that in 2008, we had the GFC. Right at the GFC and post GFC for 3 to 4 years, we were bringing in 250,000 new migrants into the country to help us recover economically from the damage done by the GFC. So we then went on a building boom, 2015 to 18, but then it dramatically drops. You see it dramatically drop in 2019. This is why in 2019, prior to the health crisis that we had and the shutdowns that we had, we were already predicting a property boom because vacancy rates were already starting to shrink. We were already starting to see the beginning signs of a rental crisis in 2019, prior to the pandemic. And a big part of that was, look at those building approvals. They fall off in 2019. Now you will see a peak here in 2021. What is that peak? Well, the Morrison government, the Liberal government at the time, released a $25,000 incentive to people to build a brand new property. So essentially there were some rules, but every brand new property received a $25,000 cash grant from the government. Now, that actually created a huge spike. And what that meant was in 2021, we saw increased levels of building approvals. However, once that ended, the demand for new construction dies off. And we are back now at 2008, 2009 levels. And this is with a population in Australia, which is millions more than what it was in 2008. So we're building the same amount of properties every month, every year as what we were doing back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. So we are not building enough property. That's really where we're at. Okay, so where are all of our tradespeople? Well, one of the big things, one of the big problems that young people are not being attracted to the trades as much as what they were in the past. Now we're seeing this problem with teachers, nurses, we're seeing this in the construction industry, especially those parts of the construction industry that rely on a lot of heavy manual labor, like the real tough jobs or the jobs that carry quite a high risk in terms of occupational health and safety. And young people are just trying to stay away from those jobs. The problem is though, we don't have enough apprentices or new people coming in there. We are not bringing them in from overseas. So on the approved list of visas for people to come in overseas for the skills shortage, a lot of those construction workers are not there. And that means we don't have the capacity to build 250 to 300,000 homes every single year. There are simply not enough people, skilled people in the country to do it. Now, this is an interesting stat because according to the ABC political commentator, Annabelle Crabb, there were 376,000 tradies in Australia in 2012. And by 2020, there was only 134,000. So as you can see, that workforce is diminishing. It pushes wages up. It pushes construction costs up as well. Okay, not only that, but we're seeing a lot of construction companies go bust. Why have they gone bust? Well, a lot of them signed contracts 1 year, 2 years ago to build something for, let's say, $1 million, but now the cost of the labor, the cost of the tradies, and the cost of the materials has gone up so much that it might cost them 1.2, 1.3 million to actually build and complete that. So they've got non-profitable contracts. Now, some companies have been able to wear that and trade through and actually build these things at a loss, but thousands of them, unfortunately, have had to close their doors. And the numbers are this. By March, according to ASIC, there were 1,913 construction companies had so far gone bust in that financial year, in the 23-24 financial year. Now this is 3 times as many as at the comparable point in 21-22. So you've got to be very careful when you're building and constructing new property. In fact, I've been involved in over 5,000 new builds just in the last decade. And this hasn't actually impacted me because I know how to do my due diligence. But if you're out there right now thinking about making a major renovation or undergoing a construction project, you've got to be very, very careful you're doing it with the right company that's in a safe and sound position to be able to fulfill its contract with you. Okay, now Australia also has a dire shortage of town planners. Matt Collins, the Planning Institute of Australia Chief Executive, recently warned that there are now 232 local government areas, or this is 43% of all councils in Australia, where no planners are working at all. 43% of councils don't have planners. Now, imagine all these development applications coming in, sitting on the mayor's desk, right? Someone's got to review them and approve them and stamp them and get them approved. And there's literally no one working at that council to approve that particular application. Now, not only are there 43 councils where there are no town planners, most of the councils across Australia do not have enough town planners to get through the backlog. And this is impacting build times across the country. So the government came out and said they want to build 1.2 million homes in the next 5 years, starting 1st of July this year. Let me know in the comments below, do you think they're going to get it done? Do you think it's going to happen? Or is this just a pipe dream? For more videos like this, please click like and subscribe for more information around the property market. Thank you.